there are many facets to Stu's ministry and many people involved from all sorts of different directions. And we're going to meet Karina now, who's a legal aid solicitor and helps Stu to meet a whole range of people. So let's welcome Karina to the podium.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you, Stu, for inviting me. My name is Karina and I'm a solicitor with Legal Aid in the Work and Development Order Service. Now, before I start, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land that we're on today, and that's the Darug Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal colleagues that we have here today. Great. I thought I would start off with a quiz because I just like quizzes, and what better way to engage people. So it's just a show of hands. So first of all, what activity can you not receive a fine for? So you can't get a fine. Do you think you can not get a fine for riding a bike on the road without a helmet? Or is it having overdue library books? Is it offensive language? Or is it releasing 20 helium-filled balloons? So who thinks that you can't receive a fine for A? No taker? One taker. All right. Who thinks you can't receive a fine for B, for the overdue library books? All right, we've got a couple. Yeah, a couple of, oh yeah, looks a bit popular. Who thinks you can't receive one for swearing? Alrighty. And who thinks you can't receive a fine for releasing 20 helium-filled balloons? Alrighty. Okay. Well, the correct answer is actually B. You can't receive a fine for having an overdue library book. Everything else is an offence and is a fine attached to it. So some people would say, but if I go back to the library, they won't let me borrow any books. And that is true, but it's what is called an administrative fee. It's not a fine as defined under the Fines Act. But all those other ones are. So for example, if you're caught swearing, that's $500. Yeah, so that's a very expensive potty mouth. If you're caught without riding your bike without a helmet, that is $387. Yeah, a bit expensive. And if you're caught releasing 20 helium-filled balloons, that is at $1,200. Yeah. So what I say is if you're having an event, say if you're having a baptism here or a wedding, and you go to Sparty's or Ronnie's or Big W, wherever you get your balloons, make sure you get 19, because if the toddler comes and pulls them, there was only 19, not 20, I didn't say anything. You didn't hear that from me. So, what is a fine? That's what I'm here to talk about. So fines, it's a punishment in money value for breaking the rules, basically. That's the sort of the gist of it. Now, what happens if you don't pay a fine? All these things can happen to you. Revenue New South Wales is the state debt collector, and they can suspend your licence, they can cancel your registration, they can take money out of your bank account or your wages, they can take your property, so they get the sheriff to come to your house, they can get you to go to court and go before a magistrate and tell them your financial situation, or if you want to sell your property, they will stop you from selling it until you pay your fines, and then they'll lift that and then they can pay it. So it's quite hefty of what can happen to you. So for most people, if they get a fine, because of these enforcement actions that Revenue can take, we sort of take stock and we say, okay, well, I better do something about this because otherwise I can't go to my job or I can't study. So we do something about it. But for most of our clients or people in this area, what happens is this is just something else that they have to deal with. And so the fine system disadvantages disadvantaged people. There was actually a paper written about this. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but it just basically says there's a cycle of fines, disadvantage and debt. And first of all, you don't engage, you don't pay that fine, or you can't, action is taken against you, you get another penalty, then more things happen to you, and it just goes round and round in circles. And it's not fun. We have a solution for this, and this is where work and development orders come in. Has anyone heard of this term, or am I talking gibberish? Oh, yes. Excellent. I don't have to explain so much. This is great. So for those of you that don't know, a work and development order allows people to clear their fines debt through unpaid work courses, counselling and treatment. It's, the WDO scheme was started in 2009 and became, as a pilot, and became permanent in 2011. And it's a partnership between Legal Aid New South Wales, Revenue New South Wales and the Department of Communities and Justice. So how does it work? Can everyone do it? No, not everyone can do it. First of all, you need to have an eligible debt, so you need to have a fine. Then you need to be an eligible person, and there's 6 eligibility criteria. Basically, if you're in acute economic hardship, which basically means Centrelink. Then you have to find an eligible activity, and then you need to find a sponsor. And that is where St. Luke's and Reverend Stu comes into play there. So why are WDOs life-changing? There's been 2 WDO evaluations done over time, and they've just shown it stops all that enforcement action that I just told you, all those horrible things, it stops all that. It allows people to get their licence and registration. It reduces stress and anxiety. It helps develop new skills. It enables you to address issues why you couldn't manage your fine in the first place. And it improves your motivation to engage with either services or treatment. So we have currently 3 WDO sponsors that are Anglican churches in this area. So we have St. Luke's, we've got Eaglevale, and we've also got St. Mark's. And I'm proud to say that thank you to Reverend Stu, we now have Mitchinbury Anglican Church on board. So these are just the stats that we have for the churches. Eaglevale, they started in 2018, so it's 4 years old, and they've already cleared $19,500 just with the programs that they do. St. Mark's have been a WDO sponsor since 2020, so for 2 years, and in the 2 years they've already cleared $25,000 in fines debt. And then St. Luke's has been a sponsor since 2019, so 3 years, and they've cleared $107,960 of fines debt. I'll repeat that figure again. $107,960 in fines debt. Just this church in 3 years, which is amazing work. Now, we also have to acknowledge that Reverend Stu didn't start here. He was somewhere else for a while. And of course, he was continuing his work there and then brought it over here. And that place was called Break the Cycle at Glen Quarry. And I highlight this for 2 reasons. One, because Reverend Stu's been doing this for quite some time. And a lot of this debt clearance is thanks to his work with the community, and this should be acknowledged. So in the past 10 years, and unfortunately they are no longer a sponsor, they have cleared, and they've been a sponsor since 2012, $356,408. 356. And here's just a snapshot. It's broken down into financial year. So basically, it started off in 2012 at 360, then it goes up to 22,000, then hits 55,000, 63,000, 58,000, 64,000, 63,000, 27,000, then it comes down to 800. So you can see how much engagement is there. This is the breakdown of the WDO activities that are done here at St. Luke's. So there's 3 activities. They do educational, vocational life skills. So you're empowered, you're sorted, your Bible studies, that's all in there. Any volunteering, and then any financial or other counselling. So in 3 activities, the biggest one obviously is education. With the previous figures I gave you of 107,000, that's how much they've already cleared, just with 3 activities, which is quite a lot. And the next slide shows the fines debt cleared by financial year by St. Luke since they started in 2009. And you can see it keeps scaling up. And even given when we went into lockdown and nothing was working, Reverend Stu still managed to clear 46,000 in when you basically couldn't do anything. I'll ask you a question. How much fines debt do you think is owing in New South Wales? Just give me a figure. Now shout it out. Be bold. 20 million higher. 50 higher. Higher. Sorry? No. Okay, now we've gone too far. So the highest bidder here was 500 million, but it's higher than that. 1 billion. Okay, it's just under. It's actually 900 million. 900 million. That's how much fines debt is owing in all of New South Wales. Not any other state or territory, just New South Wales. Guess which postcode is the second highest in the state? Yeah. And how much would that be? Give me a number. Nah, it's lower than that. What? 50%? 50, so what's 50% of 900 million? That's lower than that. It's actually sitting at $24 million. Yeah, and a lot of it went up with COVID because of all those public health order fines that no one knew what they were doing and they were just giving them out willy-nilly like lollipops. So the number one is actually Mount Druitt, sitting at 26 million. Yeah. The four highest fines debt postcode in the state is Mount Druitt, Liverpool, Campbelltown and Blacktown. So you can sort of see where the fines sit in the lowest socioeconomic areas. But thanks to work and development orders, at least we can quantify that amount and we can reduce that debt for people that actually need it. So thank you for inviting me, and please continue to support the work that Reverend Stewart does for the community.
Thanks, Karina. You can just imagine how heartbreaking and demoralising it would be if you'd never been able to get ahead in life, struggle to get work, you were struggling in Liverpool, and then you get cop fine after fine after fine. Chatting to Stu, a lot of his people have, not uncommon for them to have $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 worth of fines with absolutely no way of paying that off. They're just surviving anyway. That just crushes them. So you can see how powerful the ministry of helping relieve that financial burden is, and wonderful to have those stats. Thank you very much, Karina.